Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to What's on Your Mind. Well, today there's a lot on my mind because today, as a matter of fact, when this broadcast ends today, I will be deactivating my Meta accounts. That means that I will be deactivating from Facebook, I will be deactivating from Instagram. I don't really use WhatsApp, so that's not even an issue at this point. I am on LinkedIn, I am on Bluesky, and of course, I'm on YouTube. I don't know whether or not I will eventually find myself on TikTok. I'm not there. I just want to see the direction that everything is going in. I want to talk a little bit about this decision, and then we're going to have a discussion today about social media, the pros, the cons, everything that our guest, Sandra Bargman, is waiting in the wings, and she's waiting to come on and talk about her thoughts. And then hopefully, Stephen Wshnoff, who has not gotten here yet, but I'm hoping that he will show up. Uh, this is not a decision that I made overnight. This is something that I've been thinking about for some time for a myriad of reasons. Some of those reasons we will discuss in today's show. But I was recently in Palm Springs to do my show. And while I was out there, I'm very, very fortunate that I have so many friends out in Palm Springs. So, dinners, lunches, breakfast. Uh, my husband Danny and we were never at a loss to what are we going to do today. There were always things to do, and there were always things to do with my friends. And I realized that as I sat there having these lunches and these dinners and these breakfasts with my friends, these were never around. And I was absolutely relishing being totally in the moment with my friends, breaking bread with those that I love. And recently, when Zuckerberg announced that fact checking was going to no longer be a part of the platform of Facebook and Meta, um, my interest in the platform also waned. And I started doing a lot of research to find out if it was really beneficial to me in the long run. And the answer is no, it's a time zap for me. And I know that there are a lot of different reasons that people have given me as to why they have to stay on social media. I've heard everything. I've heard everything from the fact that I'm committing career suicide to, I'm going to lose contact with all of my friends and, friends and fans and everything. I've heard it all. But the fact of the matter is, believe it or not, with our friends and followers on Facebook, less than 3% of our content is ever seen. And even less than that is even responded to. When I first got on Facebook, it was called the Facebook. Some of you may remember this. And there was a news feed, and it was constantly regenerating itself. And people were getting bent out of shape about this because it was happening so fast that they would see a comment, and if they didn't get to it right away, it was gone. And they would have trouble trying to find that. Uh, but Facebook, social media, is really, think about those two words, social media. It was about interaction. And I find that less and less people are actually socializing on Facebook. I could post that Sandra and I are doing a show tonight, and I would tag her, and I would say we're doing a show at Carnegie Hall. I would tag Carnegie Hall. I would be very, very fortunate if 5 to 10 people responded. And when I say respond, I'm not talking about a like or an emoji. I'm talking about a comment saying, I saw the show, I enjoyed it. For those who have seen my work and have enjoyed it over the years, I appreciate you all. But even to leave a comment, it's gotten to where people are lazier and lazier. You know who you are. And I was listening to a comedian yesterday, and she said, do you have these friends on Facebook? And I'm raising my hand because they're the friends who post, I'm stuck in traffic. It's getting dark outside. I just saw a bumblebee. Any number of things. And it's amazing how many people will respond to those things. And then when it's things that are absolutely important to me in terms of the work that I do, um, I would find that the lack of likes, the lack of what I felt was support, was lacking. And that could set the tone for my entire day. So, for a lot of reasons, I decided that I wanted to step away. And so, this entire month has been devoted each day to my countdown leading up to this moment. So, as I said, when this show ends today, I will not only be deactivating those two accounts, but I will also be deleting the apps from this phone. And I'm calling this the big experiment, the great experiment. I don't know where it's going to take me. I don't know how I will feel this time next week. But my goal is to keep a daily journal as to how this is affecting my life, both positively and perhaps negatively. It could. And I'm hoping that by this time next year, I have a book to present about my experience without social media as part of my day to day machinations. I've been on Facebook for 15 years. And when I think of the time that I could save and get back, uh, it's mind boggling. But I want to bring on my hopefully first guest. I hope both of my guests will be here today. Today, it just happened today. I was happened to do an interview with her just a few weeks ago, and it's called "The Edge of Everyday," and we covered so many topics. I just absolutely adore her. One of my favorite podcasts is "The Edge of Everyday." If you're not following "The Edge of Everyday," you need to do so. I follow you through LinkedIn, but it's very easy for people to be able to find you. But anyway, Sandra, today I truly am living on the edge of every day.
Yes, yes, you are. To be or not to be on the Meta apps. Well, hello, Richard, and hello to all your listeners. And I am so thrilled and honored to be on your big experiment last Meta day. As you say, bye bye
Bye
to,
bye. So long, dearie.
Zuckerberg. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, you're not completely off social media, but you're off that particular, all of his platforms, and I salute you for it.
Well, thank you. I mean, what do you remember when, where, and how you jumped into the world of social media?
Oh, totally. I was probably amongst my friends. I was probably the last of the Facebooked.
Hmm.
I was like kicking and screaming and didn't want to do it. And I remember what was the MySpace and even that before. But I remember friends telling me about this book of face and oh, I have 100 friends and I just was like, no, it's just not for me. And then a friend of mine um, said, listen, young friend of mine, listen, I think you're going to really love Facebook. Let's just get you on. And I'll tell you, it was a somewhat mortifying jump because,
We're getting a lot of feedback because your mic is banging on your necklace, I think.
oh,
Yeah.
isn't that
So
funny? And I chose not to use my big fat microphone
I
from
was
my
wondering
Edge of
where that's
Everyday podcast.
I was wondering where that was coming from. Hi, Nancy Soleil. So thank you for that.
Yeah. So anyway, I just I mean, ultimately it was very weird to step on. I remember the first time I saw somebody tag me in a photo and I was like, "Oh my god, get to the settings and change all the privacy." It was very weird. But within 3 months I was just posting like a big Facebook whore and all kinds of things. And I mean,
Well, let's talk a little
ultimately,
bit about it. Let's talk history, okay?
hmm,
So there are a lot of I see a lot of paranoia on Facebook.
hmm,
People's accounts have been hacked. People have had duplicate accounts that are out there. I have seen this thing that if you push a certain button and you hold it down and you get this blue symbol, that you are going to be in possession of your content and everything. And a lot of that stuff is, I mean, yes, getting hacked is real, but getting these things to where these things are not happening. I will honestly say this: in my 15 years of being on Facebook, on the Book of Face, I never got hacked once.
Oh,
And
that's great.
because I was also very, very careful and very, very aware of links that looked suspicious to me
Same
and
here.
all the other things that are there. I see that
Changing
Steve Wshnoff has
passwords.
arrived. So, Steve, I'll be bringing you on in just a few minutes. Um,
Excellent.
but I see that all of these things were happening, and uh, so I count myself very, very lucky that I was not there.
Mm.
But very interesting little history lesson when the Brownie camera was first created by Kodak. Theodore Roosevelt tried to get it banned from Washington, D.C., for fear that someone would take a photograph and it would show up in the paper or something and reveal classified information, or imagine you being out with someone that you technically shouldn't be out with. So there were a lot of reasons why people didn't want that to happen. I too was one of those people that I was very reluctant to get on Facebook when everybody else was talking about it. When I first, as artist, and and Steve also in a few moments we'll be bringing him on. We depend so much on
Promotion.
marketing and promoting ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I first got involved with, first of all, my first email address was skippercar@aol.com. Skipper last name, CAR for Carol Channing, because you could only have so many letters. So it was
Ah,
skippercar@aol.com. And what I loved about AOL were all the chat boards. You could find a topic that you were interested in: Broadway musicals, Broadway theater, Broadway history, whatever the topic was, there was a platform for that. And so I belonged to these various platforms, and I spent an inordinate amount of time in these chat rooms with so many people. And then, of course, as most people do, I moved beyond AOL, and then if you remember, if you knew Stu Hamstra, for those of you in the cabaret community, he started the Cabaret Hotline, and the
mm.
Cabaret Hotline had a message board, and it was a great, great sounding place for us to be able to go and promote about our shows. And then there was a real contentious period that was going on in the cabaret community. And then it started getting nasty, and he was constantly deleting posts. And I think that we're living right now, most people that are on Facebook live in a funnel, because there are certain
Mm.
friends who have their privacy settings for friends only. There's some friends who have their privacy settings for friends of friends. And then there's some that have friends of friends of friends. I'm exaggerating when I say that. But it always blows my mind when someone has something to promote that I, as someone who likes to promote everybody, could not hit the share button. I want to bring Steve on for a moment. And there he is. Hi, Steve. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
And meet Sandra.
Hello,
But
Steve.
Steve,
Hi, Sandra.
I reached out to you because you
Hmm.
responded to Lucy Arnaz last week when
Yeah.
she was posting about those of us who have made a decision to leave social media, in terms of what do we do when the venues that we are now performing in are no longer doing the legwork to get an audience in, and everything relies on the shoulders of the artist. How do we get the word out? And I want to know what your experience is in terms of social media, and I'm speaking specifically about Facebook and Instagram, and how you use it to market and promote yourself, and the pros and cons of doing that for yourself.
Well, I mean, I have, like a lot of people right now, very, oh, good Lord, it's polite.
Mm.
I have very mixed feelings about any meta platform. I truly do. Um, I won't go so far as to say that I think Mark Zuckerberg is the Antichrist, but because there's a few people in line ahead of him. But,
He's part of a collective
Yeah,
antichrist.
well, exactly. You know, if there's a
the soul
coven
family, the
that,
soul
that
family.
right, if it's a coven of people that make up what is the Antichrist, you know, he's definitely there or knocking on the door trying to get in. Um, and so I do have very mixed feelings about Facebook. I mean, on a personal level, I have pulled back on anything that I feel a certain kind of way about putting up there. I also am very free with the block button.
Mm.
Um, Years ago, my friend Kristen Johnston and I got together and we celebrated Blocktober. It happened to fall into October, and so we were celebrating Blocktober because we were having a field day getting rid of trolls.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we both started to feel that that might be a little more effort than it's worth. And she pulled back far more than I did. But you know, then as you're discussing, you know, we don't have Cabaret Hotline. We don't have a lot of the things that we had to promote the individual projects that could go out in a, let's say, a newsletter situation. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
forget print, but even an electronic newsletter. And one of the things I have discovered, many people have discovered this, including independent journalists, and Richard, I do hope that you find yourself there. Um, Substack is a wonderful diary like format that you can create newsletters who go out to anybody who subscribes to you with targeted specific information.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it is not as image and video friendly as Facebook has become, and with the performing arts, images and video are critical. You know, much as, you know, Richard, when you said, well, what image could I use for you for your banner today? You know, for our banner today for the
Mm-hmm.
show. I'm like, oh, well, you can take this one off of here and blah, 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 blah. Without these social media outlets, the ability to just say, oh, yeah, you can take it from here goes away.
Mm-hmm.
And we're back to, right, let me dig up the right headshot for the right thing, find it, send it to you. You will then put it in the places you need to put it. There's a lot. It's a lot.
Well, it's very funny because so many people have said, I don't want Zuckerberg to have this information that I have. And if you remember at the last time that he was speaking before Congress, and they questioned him on this, and he said, and this is Zuckerberg talking, folks. He said, well, they're stupid enough to hand it to me. And it's so true that, I mean, when he said there's no more fact checking, and again, and I'd love, for you, Phil, to jump in anytime, Sandra. I am finding that more and more on Facebook, I'm getting these innocuous uh, polls that people are posting, like, what was the last musical that you cried at? And, and like hundreds of those are popping up in my feed. And I don't even respond to those anything except to hit the block button, which I love as well. Um, and, and a lot of political stuff that's popping up as well. And I know where I stand politically. Um, and, it's very, very sad. I mean, I lost a cousin recently, and we didn't even talk for the last 2 years. And I regret that because we were on opposite ends of the spectrum politically. And if I posted something on Facebook about something that was bothering me, which is my right, that immediately she would jump on to post something. I never felt the need to go to her page to do so. Forgive me, Patsy, for saying this. But, you know, we also need to know that we don't need to respond to every single post we see.
Yeah. Keep scrolling.
Bingo. Now,
Mhm.
I'm so glad that you said that because just the other day, and this, how timely of you to say that. Um, Something showed up. I think I don't. I think Facebook calls it a memory or
Yes.
whatever. Um, and something showed up on mine where apparently people found and started commenting. Um, that, oh, I agree with you, or I do this too, or how could you do this, that sort of thing. And uh, the post itself just said, I blocked someone who accused me on my page of being apathetic, lacking morals, because of a post I made yesterday where I said I don't feel the need to be publicly offended by, comment on, or try to change the mind of every single person and post on social media.
Mm-hmm.
I am capable of scrolling on. I can remain friends with someone that I don't agree with,
Mm-hmm.
but I do not have to fight with them in public. So let's be clear. Do not come to my page / my home and try to insult me. Anyone who knows me is aware that I'm anything but apathetic and that my moral compass functions more than adequately, and any other assertion they made was equally absurd. This is my page. They're my
Mm.
rules. If you don't like it, bye-bye.
Well, I have a very dear friend, and we are on opposite ends of the spectrum politically. I still love her dearly. And we made an agreement when you know who was in the White House the first time that we would never discuss him. And
The
so
Count of
we had,
Monte Cristo?
yes, we had dinner and tickets to see a show this past election, the night after the election. And she called me the day before the election and she said, "You know, Richard, this election could go either way." And I said, "What election?" And she laughed and she said, "Okay, I get it. I get it." We went out to dinner the next night, and you never would have known that an election had happened the day before. It never came up. It was never discussed. She respected my boundaries. I respected hers. And we had an incredible dinner that night, discussing all things cabaret and theater. And it never, ever, ever came up. Um, I
Wow.
mean, one of the big things that I'm having a real hard time with, and this is one of the big reasons why I'm leaving, it's not the political stuff as much as it's the lack of
Of engagement.
communication. And I think that people have come to believe that putting a post on Facebook, and I'm going to say something that's not going to be um, liked by a lot of people watching, but I don't need to see every meal that you're having, unless, of course, you've invited me to enjoy that dinner with you. I don't need to see you post a picture every time you get on a plane to take off for your next destination, which, by the way, you're announcing to the world, my house is empty. Please come and rob it. That happened to a friend of mine, and who was posting all these pictures every day. You don't know who's watching out there, folks. Um, and and the other thing, and again, I'm not trying not to be empathetic, but the other day someone posted that he posted a picture of his partner who was out on a gurney in a hospital saying, "Please keep my partner in your prayers." And I'm thinking, this is something to share with your intimate friends, if you even go that far to share that. Quite frankly, I wouldn't want someone sharing those images with me. Um, but Steve, you can turn if the cat's screaming. He just disappeared. You can turn your camera and sound on. It's okay.
But
Um,
Richard, people get a lot of likes with that kind of thing. To your point about something that's really important, people aren't commenting on. And the things that, when I've got a hangnail, if I put that on there, I'm getting
oh,
all kinds of comments. And I think really what it boils down to is, I mean, to see where it's all devolved to, there are still some, and I really get getting off of it because of the reactionary
Mhm.
response that we can all get, and the disenchantment with the lack of engagement, but also the pros to stay on. I don't know who's seeing something really that I actually genuinely do want to promote.
mm-hmm,
Um, I don't know. I can't. I can't read all the algorithms. I can only hope that it's people are seeing it if they're choosing not to comment on it. And my reaction to not getting all of the responses I used to get is up to me. If I feel as though I want it out in the world, great. And I don't get a lot of. By the way, he's also dismantled all of the hate speech guidelines.
Mhm.
mm-hmm,
So all of that is I don't have a lot of people, and we're friends on Facebook, and I'll reach out to you, Steve. I'm rabid ranter politically, and like today with Zelensky, like my head exploded. Oh my, yeah. But I am, and I don't take, if anyone, I don't get comments anymore. I don't have people trolling me. First of all,
mm-hmm,
I've like blocked or gotten rid of, but even if people have a hard time with all of the political content I put, I'm like, you're welcome to scroll by. You're welcome to unfriend me. You're welcome to stick your head in the sand
mm-hmm.
about politics. All the things we all come to social media, and particularly, I don't want to support oligarchy. That's why I would consider leaving Meta.
Well,
I'm
that's
choosing to
I
stay
have to
on
tell you,
it, but I
Sandra,
don't want to.
that is at the top of the pyramid for me.
Yeah.
That's when I heard him go on television and say we are no longer going to be fact checking, and I'm thinking, what have we unleashed in this country? When you think about that, the fact, and then the whole issue that's going on yesterday with Bezos and the Washington Post, and then you've got Elon Musk with Twitter. I was on Twitter and I loved Twitter. And my
Mm,
friend Susan, who's watching here, I'm going to bring this on. She's just recommending Bluesky, which
yeah.
I'm on. I'm following people. People are following me. Um, I will have to say this. Uh, Shameless plug here. Uh, the post that you posted today about our interview was the first, to me, meaningful thing I've seen on Blue Sky since I signed up for it. Because
Mhm.
I don't think that people have gotten the grasp of Blue Sky yet,
Right.
the way that we had it with Twitter. And I think that people still, there's a dopamine rush that people are getting by staying on platforms like Twitter. Whether or not I want to find another platform like Facebook, if there is such a thing, I don't know yet. As I said to you before, this is a big experiment for me because, and so many people um, do, are responding in very interesting ways about my decision to leave. But I also want to focus, one of the things that I've said in workshops and things that I've done over the years to so many people are thinking, well, he's doing this and she's doing that. I always say, stay in your lane and keep your blinders on. And this is a major way for me. And as I said to Danny the other night, my husband, and I'll say this to both of you right now, I'm going to make a bet to both of you that I know that I'm going to win. And that bet is I don't have 64 more years on this planet. And so I just turned 64, and I want to make the best of the time that I have here, and I want to focus more on my art, and not really, unless someone sends me um, a, a flyer through Richard at richardskipper.com, which I appreciate, or sends me a notice about something that they're doing. I relish that. I want to get those things. I want people to use this as a way. Um, it's all the other stuff that's out there that I've just, I don't know, at this point in my life where I go, I don't want it anymore. And and the interesting thing about all this is that as I sign off tonight, I almost feel like a kid waiting for Santa Claus to come, because I'm excited to me about what may be on the other side of this equation. And it's, I remember, and you do too, Steve, those days when uh, this time on a Friday night, I would be getting ready to go out, and I would be in some piano bar somewhere in New York, um, spending time with friends and having conversations and doing those things. I'm not going to say that I'm going to find a piano bar that I'm going to go to tonight, but the thing is that I miss those days of people getting up and getting out of the house and being social and interacting with one another. And when this is the way of doing it, and I realize it's not true of everyone, and I'll use an example, someone that we both know here. I'm not going to mention his name, but someone very well known in the cabaret community. Several years ago, this was pre-COVID. Um, I went to send him a notice one day, and I noticed that we were no longer friends. Well, what do you think my first reaction was? That I had done something wrong, that I had upset him, that I had pissed him off, and I called him. And he said, "Richard, you could be further from the truth." He said, "Let me tell you what happened to me." He said, "I had become this person that," and this was again when we had more of uh, the news feed happening. That's pretty
Mhm.
much not what it used to be. But he said that every Friday night, every Saturday night around 11 p.m., he would be holding court on Facebook. And his friends would be tuning in. Everyone was there and hanging on to every word. And at the risk, he neglected his music, he neglected his work, he neglected his friends, because this had become his life. And he comes home one Friday night, he sat down, he punched the button, and got a blank screen. And he couldn't get on. And he is trying to put in his password, and it's not recognizing his password. And he freaked out. And he said was almost suicidal, because he thought that his entire life was wrapped up, photographs, friends, everything was in this little platform here. And he called his brother, who happened to be a therapist, and his brother said, "I'm coming to New York." And his brother got on a plane from California to come and be with him, to talk him off of that ledge, because it was so upsetting to him. And I'm seeing, daily. I mean, things happen. But as I mentioned earlier, people whose accounts have been hacked, and all kinds of crazy things that are out there. And now that we have no guardrails, where does this go?
Well, may I?
Yes, please.
So there was a lot there. So I'll unpack a couple of little bits, because I'm sure Sandra has some insights on this too. Um, you may remember one of the things I said to Lucy Arnaz was that you have to yet again build a following of people who are looking for information from you, or who want to share information with you on wherever you go.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that's Bluesky or Threads, which is also Meta, or you do a full-time YouTube channel, which you've done, or Substack, whatever it is, you have to then find your following again. And because we are, for better or worse, in a world where people are not meeting up on a personal level the way they used to,
Mm-hmm.
on a one-to-one, things are not shared on a personal level the way they used to be. And so social media, for better or worse, has become the place where you can put something out and you know that a minimum of X number of people are going to see it. Now, one of the tools that I have taken, and why I'm not leaving Facebook at the moment, is, and I have discovered, and it works for me, any post that you are not interested in, or something it puts in your feed that is someone who knows you, but you are not necessarily friends with, or don't necessarily want to hear from, or perhaps you don't agree with them ideologically, you can, without any knowledge of theirs, on the upper right-hand corner, hit the little 3 dots and say, not interested.
Right. I do that all the time.
And it will get rid of those. And what ends up happening over time, and I've been doing it for months now, and every once in a while still they try to creep in, but what I've discovered is my news feed is very much people I want to hear from. And ad preferences, I have done the same with. Not interested, not interested, not interested. And the choice, they give you options.
Mm-hmm.
I always choose irrelevant. Because that way I'm not giving them any information. What I'm giving them is non-information.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, like you spoke about getting all of these quizzes and polls and, which of this and which of that. Most of them are data mining. Most of them are trying to figure out, well, what year were you born in? What was your mother's maiden name? What was the name of your first pet? All of the things that we have been trained to use as clues.
Right.
Or passwords.
Thank you for saying that. Yes, absolutely.
Well, like you, I never respond to those. I do respond to, and I have some friends who, and you know this, having done a gazillion years of improv myself, I do have friends who post prompts as opposed to quizzes and polls. And they will say, and you responded to one of these of mine a long time ago. I said, ruin a musical with one word. And you could write the title of any musical, change one word in that musical. And you know what? It gives nobody any personal information. It gives everyone the joy of discovery, the fun of the things we used to do in the piano bar, which was we used to yes and each other.
Right.
Frenzy. So that every joke built on every other joke, built on every other joke. And collectively, there was a community that had fun. Now, I actually, earlier today, was wearing a t-shirt that said, if you piss me off, I will sing an entire musical at you.
Yes!
I came across somebody who said, you can't do that. I said, really? Try me. And they said something intentionally that they knew, in jest would piss me off. And I literally went, ba 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 ba. And I sang the entire Funny Girl overture.
Only you, Stephen.
Which they were mortified that I did this in a public space, no less.
Oh, I love it.
And finished the end, and they went, "Are you done yet?" And I went, "I think you're bluffing, Mrs. Straykosh, bluffing." You think so? I think so. And they went, all right, I give up. I'm like, no, I will absolutely do that. But see, those are the shared experiences.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and granted, you know, coming from musical theater as I do, I have that. I hate this expression. I'm sorry. I'm one of those people. Yes, I live in Los Angeles, but if your answer to anything is suck a crystal, chant in the moonlight, stand in the herb, I will double finger you. It's something in my toolbox.
Mm-hmm.
I have that. I have my sense of humor. I'm sure, Sandra, you must have, you know, things that you do.
Well, of course. What ultimately, the reason I don't want to leave and that I'm willing to explore my addiction to uh, Facebook platform or platforms, period. My dopamine hit, my reaction, my sadness at not getting, feeling as though I'm not getting the support that I would wish.
Mm-hmm.
It's my job to manage that. And if it requires me to leave, or go away for, I get that. But ultimately, the pros, the reason that got me on, and I want to stay, really want to stay, particularly in these times, is that I really felt I grew my allowing myself to be seen. Sure, I'm as a performer, I'm fine to be seen all over on stage anywhere, but it was me and my voice and the things that were happening in my life, and that really expanded who I was. I began to share writings that I had created, you know, and ultimately walked into creating my own show that turned into a podcast. All of these things were sharing my voice, and to have stepped into that, and Facebook was the first platform that I walked onto, that was a positive. And that today, in today's world, with what's happening, is a positive I want to hold on to. I don't want to let go of sharing my voice. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to, you know, screw you. I want to share. I want to sing a full musical in your face. Yeah, I want to do, I want those good things to remain, and they can't. For me, they
Right,
can't.
right,
Now,
right.
I am moving. I'm on Bluesky, and for what it's worth, I'm feeling the vibe at Bluesky can potentially be sort of a split between Twitter and Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Ultimately, if they can, you know, add a little more characters and that sort of thing, it can move in that direction a little bit. But yeah, I do want to back away from the broligarchy and not serve that, but I do want to still mine the positive things, like a
Mm-hmm.
Facebook birthday. It's like lovely. It's
Mhm.
just this burst of joy. And I, you know, maybe 5 people are seeing something that I'm promoting these days, because you know, I know that the algorithms have changed
Mm-hmm.
dramatically,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know if it's not more, you know, and I'm going to stick with that and try to manage the bad reactions I have, and the places that I could go, the dopamine hits that I don't want to have anymore, and
Oh, the
really work.
places you can go.
Exactly. Really
Yeah.
work on managing that in a way where I can, you know, keep some sanity. You know, of course, I lose my mind on social media probably every day to some extent, but,
Mm-hmm.
you know, again, that's I can manage that. That's my responsibility.
I
It,
love
it,
that.
that's wonderful. I mean, that really is wonderful. I mean, I've sort of found a way. First of all, just for the record, I there is a Twitter account. I have not canceled it. I have not looked at it or touched it in months, and I won't,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same here.
because lack of engagement for any of these platforms is the kiss of death for them.
Mm-hmm.
So that is my contribution to that cause. Um, you know, I got a notice from Meta, not about actually almost a year ago, because I do so much work with the original Little House on the Prairie and the cast and the crew, and these are all dear friends, and we have events that we do and all this kind of stuff. Suddenly, all these bonnet heads are following me because I have put up, their feeds have brought things that I have posted to them. And so I have this other following that I never knew existed, and it's multinational.
Well, the bonnet heads are wonderful people.
Oh, you'd think so.
The ones that I've met, I've only met through Allison, and I've seen them at her shows. But,
right.
Years ago I worked with Barbara Eden, and
Yes.
Barbara Eden says you haven't lived till you've seen a 60-year-old man dressed as Genie at 6 o'clock in the morning. So
I've been to Fire Island. I've seen it. But my point being, among the things that ended up happening for me was that I was managing Facebook pages for specific things for Little House.
Mhm.
And Meta sent me a notice, and they said your engagement and your views, your engagement, the number of shares of your material has blah 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 blah, and we have our independent something or other looked at you, and you are who you say you are. Would you like to be Meta verified? That's that little blue check mark.
Was that now, Stephen? Was this legitimate?
Yes, it was. I mean, I'm a bit of a sleuth. I was able to check.
Mhm.
It was. And then came the hook. It's $15 a month. And I thought, I don't know. And they said, well, let's do a trial for a month. Now, at the same time, a different branch of Meta had approached me. Do you want to be called a digital creator? Your posts and engagement are doing da-da-da-da-da. You can earn money for this. I put 2 and 2 together, and I tried digital creator first. And I discovered that I would make more than $15 a month doing that. So, you want to verify me? That's fine. You're paying yourself to do it. And so now I have an account that is much harder to hack. I mean, it's almost impossible to hack a verified account.
Mm-hmm.
Across Facebook and Instagram, where I do post about performances, shows, that kind of thing, or help friends to post about theirs. Because I'm verified, my stuff is pushed a little further up the algorithm for people. And so what I have done is taken their trash and turned it into my tool.
Good for you.
For my purposes. And as for bonnet heads being really nice, I just today had to post a notice across 4 Little House pages that are all for different things, basically saying, in a world of Laura's, don't be a Nelly, be good or be gone. And I said, the prairie is not the place for politics. It is supposed to be a safe space for everyone. If you can't keep your politics in your pants, go away.
Mm-hmm.
And just block, 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 block. And guess what? They got the message.
Yeah.
And so, like my personal feeds, I've curated them.
Exactly.
And it does take effort. And Richard, as busy as you are, I don't know.
I want to respond to Nancy for a second. She said she looked up Bluesky and then went to a shopping sky. Where does one find it? First of all, Nancy, I would not separate the words blue and sky. They're one word. And if you Google Bluesky, you'll see it's very easy to find it. If you have trouble, call me and I'll help you with this. And I want you to finish that statement that you were making, Stephen, about my being busy. And I want to address that in a few moments. And as we wrap up in just a few minutes, this hour has flown for me. I'm going to give each of you a chance to have your final word on everything today. And after I give my final word, and then I'll let you, Sandra, and then Steve, you'll have the final word since you're a little later coming in today. But the thing is that since I announced that I was going to leave Meta, and I thank you all for doing this, My newsletter, which goes out every Monday, by the way, no spamming ever. And it's not just me. I'm writing about other things that are going on in the community, both theater and Broadway. I'm almost up to 1,000 subscribers. So that jumped, and as you know, except for this Friday platform that I have now, I really haven't been doing a lot on YouTube. I think I will probably end up doing a little bit more there. I'm still not ready to go back to doing a lot of interviews, but my numbers have gone up there as well.
Mhm.
So I'm very, very happy that you want to stay in touch and that we will do that. And again, I am on Blue Sky. And I love, Stephen, what you said earlier about Substack, because I'm not there yet, but that's not to say that I may not eventually get there. I do want to mention James Beeman, who is my director, has an incredible Substack. And what I love about his Substack, and this is something you may want to think about, Sandra, his Substack, he truly is living on the edge of every day. And it just blows my mind how bold he is in terms of his the message that he wants to put. And then I realize the people that are buying into that want to hear what he has to say,
Yeah, want that
which is,
boldness.
yes, which is on both sides of the spectrum. There are things that I disagree with, but there's a lot there that I do agree with. Um,
Mm.
and I have my website, which I've really worked very, very hard on to make it a more interactive site. So that people can send me messages, people can contact with me there. So it's not that I'm disappearing. I'm just streamlining a little bit.
And
And
you
as
should think about Twitter. I mean, TikTok.
well, we'll talk
I
about
mean,
that as well,
yeah,
because I want to see where it's headed,
yeah,
because there's
of
so
course.
much that I want to be very, very careful with where
Understood.
I am spending my energy. But again, my big thing, and I will put this out there as well, and then I'm going to give my closing remarks and before we turn it over to each of you. But I am debuting a new show on Wednesday night in New York City called Everything You Always Wanted to Know About Richard Skipper, but Were Afraid to Ask. And it's all based on questions. The audience is going to ask me questions. And my musical director, Dan, and I am very excited about this show. I hope that it has legs and that I could take it on the road. And who knows? I want to talk about social media. I want to talk about what it means to each of us. I love the fact that both of you uh, want to continue with this for the time being, and you may change your mind tomorrow, and that's okay too. Or you may want to take a hiatus from it and and come back. That's okay too. This is just where I am at this moment in my life. And I'm going to give my final remarks. And I want to thank you all, everyone who showed up. I never take it lightly when you do show up to spend any time with me, whether it be virtual or in person. Um, I hope if you're not already a subscriber to my YouTube channel, that you will subscribe to it and that you will leave a comment, not a like or an emoji, a comment about your thoughts about today's show, and I will try to respond to those comments. Leaving a comment on YouTube um, and hitting the share button increases the visibility of the clip. So it's not just about me and how that deals with everything. So please comment, hit the share button, and uh, and I am going to be here every Friday at 5 o'clock. I have a great lineup for next week. You'll see that if you subscribe to my newsletter, richardskipper.com. That's there as well. So I end every show with the same message, and that's to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. In the past, I've always said go to your Facebook friends list and reach out to let's say today, the seventh name that pops up. But instead, I know all of you, if you're like me, you get a lot of emails. The 7th email that you get, respond with a phone call. That is, if you know the person. Respond with a phone call and say, I just thought I'd give you a call as opposed to just sending an email. That's a little less personal. So I want to get back to that feeling of social interaction with one another. I'm accessible. It's very easy to get in touch with me. Reach out with a phone call, an email, a note once in a while. I will appreciate it and I will respond to them. So, uh, as my dear friend Sean Moniger says, we're all in the same storm, but we're in different sized boats.
Yep.
And I always say, I don't care what size boat you're on, as long as you have a skipper by your side. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sandra. And when you finish, you'll turn it over to Steve. And Steve, when you finish, I will just hit the end button and you don't have to worry about how to close it out. So thank you all for this journey. And here's to the next chapter. It's all yours, Sandra.
Oh, thank you, Richard. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be on the show. Great to meet you, Steve. So what can I share? Remember at the top of our conversation, Richard shared that he was recently a guest on my podcast, The Edge of Everyday, that streams on all of the major podcast platforms. And you can also get it, the video as well as the audio at maximizeyou.life. We've had a spirited conversation about all things, including getting off Meta, but wonderful topics. It's a very wonderful conversation. And throughout the podcast, all of my guests talk about edges that they're navigating. So I hope you'll check it out. Thanks again for listening in. Take it away, Steve.
Oh gosh, how do I follow that? I don't have a podcast. I mean, I have a YouTube channel, but I don't use it except to host videos that I need. Here's what I will say to anybody who is considering making a move with regard to social media, because that is the focus for me for this. You can, if you are willing to put the time in, and it does take time, you can curate what you see in your feeds. I will not go back to Twitter. Sorry. I'm not yelling Yahtzee for a Yahtzee. No. I have found that Bluesky is helpful. Threads is actually not bad because I don't see any kind of flooding with bots and craziness there yet. Once I do, I'll be gone from there as well. However, for me right now, it's Instagram and Facebook. By the way, if you're looking for me, it is just as my name is printed on the screen, Stephen Wshnoff, as one word, or you can put both words in, it'll come up in the search. I am on the TikTok, believe it or not. That's the Stephen Wshnoff. I'm not there as often, but I do find that I hope you will all forgive the expression, make Facebook your bitch. Use it for what you want in the way you want, get out of it what you want, and if, as Richard has discovered, he's not getting out of it what he feels is worth it, then leave. Just go. Let it go. Be an Elsa. There you go. Before I said in a world of Nellies, in a world of Laura's, don't be a Nelly. Be an Elsa. Let it go. And I leave you with that. Thanks so much. Bye. Oh, hello.